this episode. My name is Leland Baptist, and drumroll please. We have our amazing co-host.
Hello, I'm Hank. How are you? How you guys doing today? Listen, it is the 13th of December, 2022. And you say, well, Hank, why are you saying that? I'm saying that because some of you didn't realize that the day was the 13th, and some of you don't even realize that the day is Tuesday, and some of you don't even realize that the day is December, and some of you don't realize that you're alive.
They don't feel alive. That's what some of them tell me. I mean, I could be, but yeah, they tell me that they don't feel alive.
So we're here to help you today.
We're not happy with the existence. So okay, check this out though. Here's the thing. I wanted the title today, Hank. I didn't tell you this, but the title today is God Answers Prayers.
Whoa.
I figured,
Whoa.
something different.
But suppose you don't believe in God. He still answers prayers.
The prayer is still answered.
That's right. It's still answered,
Whether you believe or don't believe in God, the prayer
doesn't matter.
It's still answered.
He's the Almighty. He's the all-seeing. He's the all-knowing. He's the all-doing. He is what he is.
But the question is this, though. God answers prayer. And here's and tell Hank. God answers prayer. The only question really is, do you answer?
Oh.
God answers your prayer.
You threw me a curve.
The real question is never,
oh man,
will you answer my prayer?
Man.
The real question is, will you answer? Like, will you answer? So God has already answered the prayer.
Wow. You put me in pause because that was deep. And there are people that are listening and go like, it's not that deep.
No,
they weren't listening.
They weren't listening.
They weren't listening. They weren't. Here it is. They heard, but they weren't listening. Okay.
That's right.
They saw, but they weren't observing.
They hear without hearing.
Hello now. This is gonna be fun.
Because for those where this has went over your head already, let's break it down real quick. Let's talk to it like I'm talking to my little son. All right, or my daughter.
Wonderful kids.
When my child claims that they want a present. But when I tell them that they already have it.
That was deep.
All they have to do is now believe that they already have it so that they can now identify.
Reveal itself.
So for example, my son loves coding. This kid is 5 years old. All right. This little boy loves coding. Okay. We put him in coding classes. We have purchased him an actual desktop computer so that he can code. Okay. He has created his own Roblox world, virtual reality world, a 5-year-old. Okay. So when he says to me, Dad, I want whatever. I want this video game. As we all know, with video games, you don't have to physically buy a video game anymore, right, Hank? You can go online and you can download it. If I wanted to download a PC game, I don't have to go to GameStop or anywhere else to buy that game, or Target, whatever. I can just go to the website. Boom, buy the game.
It's free.
Yeah, exactly.
It's free.
Yeah. Exactly. In many cases, the games are free. If they might be $5 because it's a digital download, and the companies are willing because they're digital. They're willing to give you, the game for little to nothing because they don't have to manufacture a disc and put it into a cover and all other stuff. So it's saving money. So he says, "Hey, I want this game." He comes back to me. I said, "Well, you already got the game." He says, "Well, where is it?" It's on your computer.
Mm,
It's
mm,
on it's
mm.
it's on the device that is necessary for you to have access to the thing. Let's break it down a little bit more. A little bit more for some people who are still over their head.
You
Okay.
know, excuse me. Hold that thought. I'm laughing, and people looking at me like I'm crazy. Okay, people, we have not rehearsed this,
We no.
but I think I'm slightly quick-witted, and I'm with it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, my friend.
So all jokes aside, so the thing, let's break it down for my 3-year-old. The thing that you want
Mm, mm, mm,
is always in
mm,
environment that is necessary for it to perform,
for which you have access to.
which you have access to.
Mm, mm.
So, for example, if someone says they want to be wealthy, Hank, would you believe that their cranium does not grow? Like the actual area in which their brain is encapsulated in their head, that area does not grow.
After a certain age.
Right. The adult, let me be more
Right.
more
Okay.
specific.
For adult. For
Says they
if
want
you're over 25.
to, yeah, good point.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
you're over 25 and you're not drinking and you're not running into things, the shape or the size of your head, your cranium, does not change. That would mean that it's not a physical change that you're looking for to actually manifest the thing that you want.
This is
Because
deep.
if it was, in fact, man, I want to close this deal, that means my head has to get bigger. Then we can kind of correlate that. But that's not a requirement.
No.
That would mean that whatever is necessary for you to actually do that thing, you already got.
And if you don't physically have it, you have the capacity to obtain it because there's space for it.
This.
That's
So the computer has a hard drive, has RAM space that allows it to download the game that my kid wants to play. And the best environment for a computer game to be is in a computer.
Yeah. That's why it's called a computer game.
So somebody's like, this ain't making no sense. This don't make no sense.
Okay.
Hank,
Yes,
how would you break it down for people so they can really understand what we're talking about?
Leland, can I just give a couple of examples of stuff? Because we were talking on the front end. If you drive to work, drive a bus, ride to work, or however you get there, ride a bicycle, and you're the one operating whatever that device is, your primary focus is on the road. You look at stop signs, you look this, watch this, and cross it. That's what you're focused on. And you've been doing that for the last 5-10 years. And stuff is happening around you. New stuff is happening around you every day. So tomorrow I want you to not drive, get someone to drive you. And then I want you, because you're no longer focusing on driving, you're just focusing there on seeing. And you will start to see stuff that has been accumulating and developing for the last 10 years that you're totally oblivious about, but yet surrounded by.
That's good.
What am I saying? I'm saying that Leland said it. What you want, you already have. If you don't physically have it, there is an avenue, there is a road, there is a route, there's a strategy already laid out for you. But the problem is, one, you have not made a decision and you have not created a plan to take advantage of what's already there. Okay. We have become sedentary. We have become complacent in our daily lives,
Wow.
where we get to the point we're good enough. Hey, how you doing? Hey man, I'm all right. How you doing?
That's the
I'm
biggest
doing
one
good.
right
And I learned some time ago that a good life is the mortal enemy of a great life.
there. Mm,
So for people who have a job, I just want you to think, because you say, well, man, let's come back to rat now, R-A-T, rat now. If you work for an employer, answer these questions to yourself. And if you have whether you have a position or not, I say positioning authority, you are a manager or supervisor, or you just a common, no offense, just one of the common laborers. One, how long have you worked for that company? That's the first question. The second question is, how long ago did you either receive a promotion
hmm hmm
or a pay raise that was different than the cost of living? And then where are you on this ladder, this supposed ladder of success or progression in the company that you're living, that you're working for, and how long have you been on that particular rung?
mm. And what is that ladder up against?
Oh, ooh, that's crazy. And I ask those questions because many people that may be listening today, or some that are listening today, are in a dead end job environment, but yet you're comfortable in your discomfort.
Yeah.
You have everything around you. That computer is there figuratively for you to point and click and get out of that dead end environment, but you are afraid because you know how to do whatever it is that you're doing and you're good at it. You'll never get promoted. You'll never get a pay raise. Okay. You'll never be in charge. And you have now become sedentary, ordinary, complacent, afraid, stuck. So,
Mm.
so how how do you get out of your own way? Is the question that popped into my head. How do you get out of your own way? You gotta wanna. Number one, you gotta wanna. Okay. And what we do is we accuse our circumstances. We accuse other people for our circumstance,
Yeah.
our lack of. But I think a lot of people have a lack of want. WANT.
Yeah.
Nope, they have a lack of desire to do something different. Okay? Because if I want something, that's all well and good. But what do I have to do to get it? If I want some Haagen-Dazs ice cream right now, I have to be willing to get up and get it. Or I call my wife and she goes like, "Hey, dude, I ain't your maid here now. Okay, I'll bring it this time." You know how people who love you can be. They can be real. So Leland, I say all of that to say, if we have, if we physically have, or we have access to, how
Any
do we how do we now grasp, physically, literally, mentally, emotionally, grasp this it?
I think one of the not one of I think the greatest manifestation, the greatest creation, the greatest, I don't know, obtainment maybe,
Hmm.
that anyone can have or that anyone can witness
Hmm.
is a woman who conceives a child in
Hmm.
love and gives birth to said child.
Wow.
The reason I say that is there are so many things that have to happen right.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a numerous amount of things that can go wrong. And then when you add a 9 month, 10 month, 12 month, I saw I saw something online. I don't know how true it is. If it's true, great. I mean, I don't know. But I saw something online where a mother carried a child for 3 years.
Okay.
Hey.
There are two ways for me to take that,
So, hey, I said, okay, hey, who am I?
Yeah,
Hey, you must know something I don't
I
know.
don't know.
Hey, cool. But here's what I'm getting at. There's so many things that can go wrong. And that mother has to be in a safe enough environment to bring a child in. And so for those of us who have never been physically pregnant, I personally have never been physically pregnant. I
Hmm.
myself have never physically had to birth a child into the world. But I have observed, and I noticed that during the process of my wife being pregnant with our children, there were emotions, there were worries,
Ooh.
concerns, there were sometimes swelling of feet or ankles, there were pains, back pain, abdominal pain. Um, there was limitations on where we could or could not go. Right. For example, we couldn't get on a roller coaster. Right. You couldn't. Like Disney World is a great place to go with family, but in the right timing, it could be the worst place to be.
Right.
Right. If you're 9 months pregnant, Disney World probably isn't the place that you want to be. And the correlation I'm making for everyone is this: if you have that goal, you first have to fall. You first need to fall in love with the realization of the actual goal.
Um, Leland, I read something the other day because again, goals. Um, After World War II, the goal of boomers was to be a homeowner,
Hmm.
and in the early '70s, the goal of most people was to get a college education, a college degree. Hmm. And now, I said last week that artificial intelligence and robotics are causing people to make some major changes in their chosen profession. I just talked about people being in dead end jobs. So what I was listening to last week, and it froze me in my tracks, and it said that for middle class Americans, the idea of home ownership, the dream of home ownership, is now becoming a nightmare. That is becoming next to impossible to achieve. Why? Because because of inflation and all that other stuff, the average sales price of a house in the US, the last quarter of 2000 or the third quarter of 2022, was almost $400,000. At the beginning of the year, interest rates were about 3%. Now interest rates are about 7%, more than doubled. Okay, more. The price of the house went up almost 30%, and interest rates doubled, and you're making $60,000-$70,000 a year.
Yeah.
You will not be able to afford that typical house because you have to bring 20% to the table, and you haven't saved a dime. So you remember, Leland, way back when we were talking about, because this is where reality strikes. Say, for instance, you're making $100,000 a year doing whatever it is that you're doing, which is no money, but you're making 100,000. Let's start someplace. With federal, state, local taxes, unless you live in places that don't have a state tax, but federal, state, local taxes, Medicare, Social Security, all of those things, about 40% of what it is that you earn, you don't see. They take it off the top.
That's correct.
So of that 100,000, you're down to 60,000 that you see. If you've got a 2,000 and you divide that by 12, that's 5,000 a month. If you have to pay 2,000 a month for rent, I mean for mortgage payment, that leaves you 3,000. And because you consider yourself doing real well, you've got a car, maybe 2 cars, and say combined, the payments for those 2 cars are $800 a month. That leaves you $2,200.
Mm.
Now, I was just talking about mortgage of $2,000. You still got taxes and insurance. So taxes and insurance every month is going to be another $300, minimum $300. For a $400,000 house, it's going to be about $600 a month. So that leaves you now with $1,600. Wear and tear on the cars, health insurance, life insurance, all of those other things. So the typical family is in hock about anywhere from about $500 to $1,000 a month, every month. And a couple of weeks ago, we talked about credit card debt. Okay. So people are paying the minimum amount on credit card debt. Say you got $5,000.
That's right.
Okay. And you make a minimum payment of $95. And you've got an interest rate of 18%. It'll take you 20 plus years just to pay off the 5,000. But you know what folk do, Leland? The moment they get a little breathing space on that credit card, what do?
Swipe.
Okay. So we're on this rat race of life doing what we think is necessary because everybody around us is doing it. Okay. So if you don't change something in your particular scenario, 5 years from now, guess where you're going to be? Further in debt.
Yeah.
Okay. So people, what we're trying to do is to say, listen, you've got everything that you need to make a decision. And a lot of people make a decision, but they don't create a plan or they don't work the plan.
You know what's really crazy? It's kind of sad, and it's also, it's a psychology of things, I guess, where I want people to really understand what Hank is saying, because he mentioned you get a plan and then you work the plan. What many people do is, let me use it like these books I have over here. What many people do is this. Every book that I have in my hand right now, these are plans. Okay, these are all plans.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that all these are plans. Now, I understand initially, especially even as adults, we're still learning who we are as people. We don't really know which plan really, is really aligned with who we really are. And part of that is because we don't know who the heck we are. So I get that part.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what happens. You're given a plan, and you go, let's say this is 200 pages. You go 10 pages in.
Bring it on, brother.
You put the plan down. You get to chapter 1 or chapter 2, and you put the plan down. So then you say, well, maybe it's somewhere in one of these. So you get the next one. You go 20 pages in on that one, but this one happens to be longer, right? You put it down, and you become susceptible, you become fooled, tricked into thinking that it's always the plan that's not working.
Mm, mm, mm,
When in
mm.
actuality, it's you not working the plan.
You know what? The analogy or the symbolism that cropped in my mind. I didn't do sports in high school or college. But I can remember when I was sitting in the stands with my son running track in high school. I could hear the coach telling the coaches telling kids, run through the tape, run through the tape. Because a lot of people, in a lot of races of life, the the game, the sport, the meat, the what have you, is lost at the tape. So Leland, those examples that you gave, there are people who be reading something, they go like, oh man, I don't have time to read. And if I said before, either read and change your mind or change your mind and read. But either way, to get from where you are to where you want to be, you had better be reading. And I say, well, these guys are crazy. I've got a book here and it's called The Power of Optimism. It's all frayed. It's old. It's old. It's old. But every now and so often, I need to be able to sharpen my axe. So when I come to the table, I know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm not an expert. I'm not a life coach. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not a minister. I'm none of that, but I'm well read. Okay. And let me help you. My college degree, I'm nowhere close to what my degree in college was because Leland said I didn't know who the hell I was when I was 17 years old going into college. Actually, if truth be told, I don't know who the hell I am now.
Ever changing.
Ever and every time I read something new, it changes what I have here, the perceptions, the understandings, the desire change. So what I have to do is make certain that I understand as best I can the who I am. And here's something, because I have something called who are you versus what are you. And when you start to get into this from a psychological perspective, and I wasn't looking at it from that perspective. Okay. I have learned in life that people who have initials before their names or after their names, if you talk to them, they constantly talk about the what they are. I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a this, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. And when I was a young gun out there in the streets, I had heard someone say that when you meet a sweet young thing, a PYT coming along, um, ask her a question, and the question would be something like, "Hey, young lady, hey, Helen, how you doing? Listen, tell me about yourself without telling me where you've been and what you've done." And if she wasn't able, in 25 words or less, and if she wasn't able to do that, I knew that she wasn't the one. Because, well, I'm from this, I'm from that, and I'd smile. Why are you smiling? Why are you smiling, Hank? I ask you to tell me where you've been. I mean, about yourself without telling me where you've been and what you've done. And when you tell me where you're from, that's where you've been. So my point is this. When I was in the military, before I left the military, I was in charge of 200 and some folk. They knew I was the colonel. They knew I was the boss. They knew I was the director. They knew that was position. Anyway, they might even call it status. That was the what I was. But people confused it to the who I was. He's the this. And in my mind, the who I was, the who I was, I'm Hank Hunt. I'm a religious individual. I show compassionate and humility and all of those other traits or characteristics of personality rather than position. And because I showed caring and empathy and understanding and all those things, I was regarded to a higher degree on who I was than people who only looked at me for the what I was. I'm saying that to say some of you are constantly going around beating your chest on. I have friends who are medical doctors and they introduce themselves as, hey, I'm Dr. So and so. I'm attorney so and so. Is it? Are they really? What happens when Dr. So and so can no longer practice medicine? So, for those of you who hide behind title or position, who are you? What do you do when your best isn't good? When your best isn't good enough? So I say all of that to say we're trying to help you to break through the gridlock of mental incapacitation. And I say that to say, again, not being unkind or condescending. How does someone get your attention when your attention span is that long?
And that's the one thing I want to touch on before we
Okay,
conclude.
I'm gonna be quiet and listen because I get on the soapbox. My tank.
No,
Oh,
you're good.
I'd
No,
be I'd be playing an instrument if I knew how to play.
everyone needs this because here's the thing. I mentioned the books, right?
Yes, sir.
Could we all agree that the time that it took someone to pick up one book, read 20 pages in, quit, search for another book, read 20 pages in, quit, then search for another book, read 20, blah, blah, blah. By the time they get to the 4th, 5th page or quote unquote plan, and they didn't work any of them, they could have at least committed to one of these plans and actually got the result that they were looking for the entire time. And I want to give everyone this quick thing. Even water can cut through a rock. Even water can cut through steel. Too many of us are not understanding that in order for water to cut through a rock, two things can happen. It has to be focused and it has to be consistent. You can be focused without the consistency, but you can be consistent without the focus. I'll give you an example with water. Water is a metaphor for your attention. You could go somewhere in nature right now and you can find maybe water dripping off of a tree onto a stone or a rock. And over time, with the amount of dripping,
the force, yep,
it would slowly begin to cut into that rock. Right? So that's attention. Now that because it's so little amount of attention or water, it takes a longer time for it to pierce through the rock. A person could commit to a plan, and metaphorically, if the water is your attention, they can commit, and they can commit so much and laser in on one thing, and commit to just one thing, and they could actually be like a water jet that is piercing through a rock. Both are water. There's nothing special about the water. There's just one difference. The water jet is focusing at one piercing point at a time with enough velocity to where it cuts through. It makes the impression that it needs. It makes the product. Someone else could use the dripping of, for example, of a tree leaf. It could have a same result. It's just going to take a lot longer. Finished product, just like that. Boom. Why? The focus. So when you so stop jumping around and actually commit. Stop jumping around and commit. If you're given a book, read the entire book. Commit to reading the entire book. After you read the entire book, commit to then taking action on what you read.
Put something in practice. Absolutely.
But because the thing is, like Hank mentioned, when you practice what you read or you practice what you learn, the habit of practicing is what enables you to become more comfortable, and it allows something to become second nature. That is why when a football team, basketball team, whatever, when they learn plays, in other words, they read a book. The book
Hmm.
has it's called a playbook actually, and it ain't.
Yes, it is.
They read a playbook. It's not enough for them to read a playbook. They have to then practice what was in the playbook.
That's right.
So that
And the variations of those
and,
plays in the
and the
playbook.
audibles, absolutely. So
Yes.
that when
Yeah.
the real game situation comes, okay, it's hut on three. Got it. It's a screen to the left, and then it's a layup.
Oh.
But they had to first read it first. A lot of us, here's what happens. A lot of us, I used the analogy already. A lot of us will, one, we don't read the entire book. That's a mistake.
Hmm.
So when we have the challenges come up against us, we don't know exactly where to go to get the solution. But
Hmm.
if you were practicing before you jumped off the deep end, you would have a little bit more surety that you know what that person this you know what that's on page 89. Next time this happens, I know exactly where to go.
Where to go? That's it.
So I'll leave it at that.
Leland, um, we've talked about mindset. We talk about a lot of stuff. Let's see if I can just say this and I'm gonna be quiet. For those of you who listen, what type of attitude do you have? You have an attitude of overconfidence, conceit, an attitude of manipulation, an attitude of insecurity? Do you have an attitude of optimism? Do you have an attitude of focus? All of us are constant works in progress. And for me to do better, I must be better. And for me to be better, I must read. I must learn from someone else's experience. Because I am, as of today, the sum total of my education, my experiences, my connections, my everything. And I'm still working on me every day to be a better me, not a perfect me, a better me. So if you're one of those individuals who deal with perfectionism or perfection, and you feel that you are better than everybody else because you got initials before or behind your name, you got to slow your roll because you'll never get where you want to be. And if you think you're there, if you think you're there, consider the fact that we talked about last week. Artificial intelligence and robotics are changing the workplace every day.
Yeah.
And there are manufacturers, there are companies that are constantly changing to integrate, implement, adapt to, again, everything that's changing around them. And it doesn't matter the industry anymore. So I say that to say, if you've been doing the same thing the same way for the, for a very, very long time, and you're resistant to change, we're not talking to you. We're talking to the individual who still wants something out of life and is willing to go for it. And I've said before, most of us got so much junk in our trunk that there's no way to put anything else in. So we put it in the back seat. Now the back seat is full of junk, and now it's in the front seat and it's full of junk, and the garage is full of junk. You can't put any good stuff in your junky trunk until you take some junk out of the trunk. Sometimes that trunk is between your ears. And the only way you're going to be able to change this is to put some good stuff in. some goods. However, you got to put some good stuff in. Okay, the bad stuff stays there. Okay, but you got to put some good stuff in to maintain focus on getting from where you are to where you want to be, so that when times are bad, okay, you will
Not
have
yet.
this. Oh, it's gonna happen. You're gonna have a pity party, okay? And at some point in time, there is no Leland to smack me back into. Hey, I've got to know where to go. And I pick up this book on optimism, and I just sort of read something. All of a sudden, something shakes me back into reality. So I'm just saying, don't lose your focus. Make sure that you have a plan and a great strategy. A great strategy. And if you don't know how to do that, talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Be transparent. You don't have to tell me everything. Just saying, hey, listen, man, I want to be able to do XYZ and what I'm doing and what I've been doing for the last few years. I can do that. Because somewhere along the line, we told you about someone who's in our apprenticeship program that started to wholesale real estate in jail. He was in jail.
Yeah, that's true.
And we got another individual who has a record, okay, quit her job to do what we're doing. You go like, that doesn't make any sense. That's crazy. It may be crazy to you because you don't know their motivation. My question to you is this: what will motivate you to stop doing what you're doing to do something that will truly liberate you financially? And with that, as Obama said, Hank out.
Where'd you learn that one from?
Oh, I think I
I
was
like it.
watching.
Don't get me wrong. I like it.
Yeah, well, hey, Hank out.
I like that. That's good. Well, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you guys on the next one. Remember, God does answer prayers. Oh, and let me say this as a what's that, PS, right? Um, God answers prayers. Oftentimes, it's not in the form that we want or we thought that it would be answered. So,
Mm-hmm.
as an example, um, if, for example, Moses were to say, "Hey, can you, I don't know, part the Red Sea?" And God would say, "Well, what's in your hand?" He's like, "Well, how do you want me to part the Red Sea?" He's like, "Use what you have.
Mm.
Use what's in your hand." And Moses is
Oh.
like, "My staff?" He's like, "Yeah, the same staff that I turned into a serpent, when necessary, can be the same staff that you use to part the Red Sea." So keep in mind, just again,
Read the book.
yeah, that's surprising. Most people don't read it. So the same staff that I turned into a serpent that ate all those little pythons that were out here playing with the magicians of Egypt is the same
Mm.
staff that I'm gonna use to part the sea, which is the same staff later on when they had their battle with whomever. Was the same staff when he said, "Hey, raise that staff up, and as long as you keep that staff raised above your head, you will win the battle.
That's right. You will be a victor.
You'll be victorious." What am I
Yeah.
getting at? Here's what I'm getting at. Oftentimes, we're wanting something, and we're not realizing that we have the
Oh.
thing that will give the result of what we want.
Mm, mm, mm,
What has to happen, though, is you have to use
mm.
the thing. Moses had to use his staff. Can you imagine if Moses had the staff, but what if Moses said, "Lord God, right, creator of the universe, I can't use this staff because I use it to walk. Why would I use it to part the Red Sea? They'd be dead."
He said, "Oh, it's not possible."
Right? That's not what staffs are used for. It's like, yeah. I get that, but I need you to use that now. Here's what I'm gonna say. For some of us, the cell phone is just a cell phone.
Not for you. You got three.
Right. For like guys, think about this. We all have cell phones. I believe majority of adults have cell phones. We all have cell phones. For some of us, the cell phone is just a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
For others, the cell phone is a source of income.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One
If
is,
you have
and for some, it's an amusement center.
exactly for some, it's a plaything.
Yeah.
And so, for example, so
Same cell phone.
say hey, when we talk about talk about technology, right, and things like that. So for some of us, if you have most of us have access to the internet. Praise God for it, right? For some of us, the internet is a challenging thing. It's a scary thing. For some of us, the internet for some people, the internet is a prison.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, the internet, I'm gonna be real mean and transparent. For some people, the internet is a way to escape. For some people, the internet is a way to escape their life, their tough life. For some people, the internet is a jail of pornography to encapsulate someone from actually doing what they should be doing. For some people, the internet is an avenue to create income, to build a better reality for themselves and for their family. The same internet, same staff, used differently, does different things.
That's it. But you have to be aware. You have to become more aware as to the capabilities, the abilities and capabilities, your abilities and the capabilities of things that's going on. Because as you demonstrate your abilities, you create more capabilities.
So there's nothing wrong with the internet, nothing wrong with the staff,
and there's nothing wrong with you.
And there's nothing wrong with you. The only difference is the better you choose, like Hank said, to put good stuff into your mind, the more you're going to be able to see other opportunities that will allow for that to happen. But if we want to continue to basically have blinders on and pretend that we can see with the blinders on, that's the issue. All right, so I'm gonna leave it there. We'll hop off, and that is it.
Oh, peace, y'all. Thanks for listening.